Question 1. In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? The aim of this project was to create a short film based on any genre, as well as a radio trailer and a film poster. I chose my film to be from the social realism genre, and after watching many social realism films and looking at their codes and conventions, I aimed to apply as many as I could when creating my film. One convention involved the use of camera. A lot of social realism films tend to use close-ups for emotions, point-of-view shots, and tracking to keep them in action with the character. I used all three of these shots for my film, particularly the close-up shots of Shamila's face in the beginning, when she's having the phone conversation with her girlfriend, so that the audience could feel her pain, her hurt, and her disgust. I also thought it was a clever way of introducing the character to the audience through extreme close-ups of her mouth and eyes, and later on seeing the rest of her to emphasise how emotional that scene was meant to be. I used a lot of tracking shots when she was taking her walk of reflection and narrated to the audience how she was feeling, so the audience is following the action of the character and also taking that reflective walk with Shamila as she narrates to them how she feels. I added one point of view shot when Shamila was walking down Amberley Road and she looked down at her box. This is also conventional of social realism films, as it puts the audience in the shoes of the character, and so we as the audience get to see what Shamila was seeing. I chose to particularly use a point of view shot when she was looking at the box, as the box is a very important item of the film. The whole film is based on the box and how metaphorically it was a heavy weight that needed to be empty. I chose my locations accordingly to social realism films. I wanted to use run-down and dingy areas to make it as realistic as possible, and to also add that depressive feel to my film, as it was a very deep and somewhat depressing film that provides hope in the end. I used rusty garages, an alleyway, and a canal. The canal sort of neutralises the feel of the previous locations when the character feels a lot calmer. I also found brick walls to add to that run-down and dingy feel social realism films tend to give out. My character was a young adult, which is the age the characters of social realism films generally are. And I didn't go to much lengths with choosing the outfits for Shamila, as it's another convention where the characters wear casual clothing. I did want Shamila to wear pyjamas in the beginning, as it was a lot more realistic of the scene for her to look a state. She hasn't bothered to prepare herself for when she confronts her girlfriend. The locations used and the aesthetics of her house gave the impression that she wasn't wealthy but from the working class, which is where most characters tend to be from in social realism films. I didn't use many effects in my film apart from crust dissolving to make the transitions look smoother. However, I did use a lot of cuts, but this was only because the quick cuts either showed her emotion and her relationship with objects, and also to show her fragile state of mind at the beginning of the film when she trashes her place out of anger. Only natural lighting was used, which makes my film more realistic, which is what a social realism film should be in comparison to other genres. I finally want to comment on the plot, which is typical of a social realism film, as the protagonist wants a better life and tries to achieve it. So in my film's case, Shamila has had enough of her misfortunes of being cheated on, and so now she's ridding the weight she's been carrying in the box of hers to be able to let go, move on, and have a better life. I feel that my film is a good example of a social realism film, as it uses all the conventions social realism films should have. There is nothing artificial about it, everything is realistic, and also the plot is something many viewers will relate to at some point in their life. If not bad relationships, then it will probably be the weight that we will carry at some point in our life. We just need to learn to let go of it in our own personal way. Question 2. How effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary texts? The radio trailer was quite similar to the context of my film. It involved the beginning scene of my film and also addressed the audience by asking them whether they've felt hurt or destroyed. The conventions of a radio trailer that involves the name of the film, segments of the film, and an introductory voice which has been included. The music I used was also from the film, as well as adding something building at the beginning. My poster was a screenshot taken from the film, which is what posters generally are. I made it black and white to look gritty, and the simplicity of the photo made it look very realistic. The shot was taken from the end of the film because I feel it was one of the most important scenes in the film, and it was also the best shot of the box, which is what my film is centered on. Both the poster and the radio trailer create a cohesive advertising campaign as they contain segments from the film, and I chose the segments carefully based on how catching they would be. The radio trailer, containing the confrontation scene, will grab the audience's attention as it's such a heated scene, and the film poster contains one of the most bold and suspenseful shots of the whole film, the box, which will also grab the audience's attention and create anticipation for the film's release. Question 3. What have you learned from your audience feedback? Feedback started all the way from the planning stage when I was writing my script. My teacher recommended I alter my script when he saw it was a poem, as it was too light-hearted for the deep feel of my film. I then changed it to something more meaningful and suitable for my film. Most of the feedback for my film was generally good. However, some people gave me constructive criticisms about the beginning sequence being too long and that I didn't use enough still shots. However, due to time, I was unable to change that about my film. I did, however, give myself some constructive criticism about the sound at some points, where the music was too quiet and the narration was too loud, or that the tone of Shamilah's voice didn't suit some parts of the film when she was narrating, and so these were some of the things that I was able to change. Question 4. How did you use new media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages? I used a lot of media technologies in the whole process of my film, from the research and planning to the evaluation stages and construction stages. I had a lot of access to the internet when researching about short films and their conventions, as well as using YouTube to look at some short films. I created a PowerPoint presentation with sound clips about the social realism genre with an example of one of the films I watched. I created a visual mood board and took a photo of it for the planning section, as well as taking loads of videos and photos of the whole filming process. The filming and editing was a media technology, as well as creating the radio trailer and film poster, using Final Cut Express for the film and radio trailer and Photoshop for the film poster. This evaluation is also another media technology as it's being recorded by video. To note the whole process of this A2 project, I used Blogger, which is very user-friendly, looks professional, and allows me to add links, photos, and videos to my blog posts, which make it look a lot more visual than just writing and being text-heavy. Question 5. How have you developed from the foundation portfolio to your advanced portfolio? One major difference between my foundation portfolio and my advanced portfolio is that I decided to work on my own this year, which has affected my performance hugely in a positive way. Last year I worked in a group, but because I didn't have much control over the project, Thriller didn't look anything the way I wanted it to in my head, and so the outcome wasn't anything that I would have liked it to be. I also had to use Fronter to note down my progress, which wasn't as great as Blogger has been, and it was an opening to a thriller, so the genre had been set, and the time limit was about 3 minutes, which was very restrictive. This year I was able to choose my genre. The time limit was longer to about 7 minutes, and so I felt a lot more relaxed. I used Blogger this year instead of Fronter to note my progress, which has been a lot better in so many ways than Fronter has been, and I worked on my own, so I had full control over the project. The outcome of my film was just the way I wanted it to be, and it looked exactly the way I wanted it to in my head. I had no major difficulties than I did last year, and I was able to work faster and more efficiently, and I was more prepared and planned it a lot better than I was able to last year.